He is one of only 5 people to be chosen to read a poem at a presidential inauguration. That, in and of itself, is worth a story.
The journey to that moment is told in a new book by Richard Blanco. And as CBS 13's Kim Block shows us, his story is making a difference for poetry in America. Kim.
And for everyone chasing the American dream as well. Greg and Adrian, Richard Blanco is proud to call Maine home now. But as a young immigrant child, he often wondered if he really belonged in America. That question was answered resoundingly on Inauguration Day when he stood before hundreds of thousands of fellow citizens and sparked a new love of poetry in America.
The world watched as Richard Blanco delivered the inaugural poem, One Today.
One sun rose on us today.
And though it was a unifying moment for the country, the journey that led up to it was very much about this one man.
It was an assignment not just to write a poem, but rather to investigate my very life, my very connection to my country.
Blanco tells that story, the story behind the story, if you will, in his new book, For All of Us, One Today. It begins with the phone call he got while driving back to Maine that he had been chosen, and the intense creative process that had to begin almost immediately. He began the emotional task of opening doors about what he wanted to express.
And for me, that door had to do with asking a lot of questions about myself as an immigrant, as a gay man in America. And that sense of, is this my country? I mean, is this where I belong? Is this where I'm going to choose to die?
The answer came to Blanco unexpectedly while on that podium, and it was a resounding yes.
You know, for me, it was actually one of the greatest gifts of the whole inaugural process was, an unexpected gift was sitting up there on the platform and being overwhelmed by the sense of finally truly belonging to America myself. There's a line in there in the book where I turn to my mother and I say, who's sitting right next to me, and I tell her, well, Mom, I think we're finally Americano. You know?
Bethel's own, Richard Blanco.
Since the inauguration, Blanco has continued his mission to take that inaugural spirit on the road, traveling the country, doing readings, even special commissions such as the poem he wrote for the Boston Strong concert. It seems America is hungry for poetry, yearning for words that touch and heal and inspire.
It connects America with contemporary accessible work for a moment, and they realize that maybe, hey, poetry is not what I thought it was. It's not my grandmother's poetry. It's not the poetry that I was sort of beat over the head with in high school, maybe, that there is something else, that it's alive, that it's a vibrant art, that it's a way of telling stories, that it's a way of connecting people.
With his new book, Blanco hopes to share his journey from immigrant child to inaugural poet and keep the art form alive.
The inauguration certainly proved to me that is certainly true, that there's a wonderful place for poetry in America.
The book is available starting today. It includes the other 2 poems that Blanco wrote for the inauguration, the ones that were not chosen, and also their translations in Spanish. And Adrian and Greg, he says he felt he really needed to write down this story in the amazing few weeks that led up to the inauguration, in part to prove to himself that it all wasn't just a dream.
Right. I would imagine it feels like a dream, but I love that part about him on the podium and finally feeling like he's a part of the country.
Accepted, yes, and
what
representing well.
Too.
Oh, I know, the pressure. You can get some of the pressure in the book. And by the way, we'll put the whole interview on WGME.com.
Great. Kim, thank you. Sure.
Well, a quick reminder, we do want to know the stories that matter to you. You can log on to WGME.com, click on our Your Voice News survey, give us your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Again, that's at WGME.com.